All right, so we're diving into House of Leaves this time.
Boy.
And I got to admit, even just prepping for this book kind of gets under your skin.
It really does.
You know, listeners have been asking for a deep dive on this one for ages. I think they're starting to suspect we've been avoiding it.
Maybe a little. It's not exactly a light read, is it?
No,
Oh.
not at all. So how do we even begin to explain House of Leaves? Um, for anyone brave enough to be unfamiliar with it, we're talking about a book that's, well, notorious for its weirdness. Like, seriously weird.
It's famous for being, shall we say, challenging. It's a book that actively fights against you trying to understand it.
Right. And it's not just the content, it's the whole experience.
Yeah.
Like, just flipping through it, the layout, the fonts, everything is just a little bit off.
Danielewski, the author, he's playing with you. He wants you to feel lost, disoriented, just like the characters in the book. It's a book that makes you work for it.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. We've got this family, the Navidsons, who move into this new house. Seems normal enough, right? Except this house is anything but.
Right. It's almost its own character, this house. It starts changing, shifting, growing. Rooms appear where they shouldn't. Hallways stretch on forever. It's like the house is alive and not in a good way.
Yeah, it's seriously creepy. And this is where the whole Navidson record comes in. So within the story, there's this documentary that the dad, Will Navidson, is making about the house. And we get these excerpts, these transcripts, these footnotes.
Oh, the footnotes, they're infamous. Sometimes they're insightful, sometimes they're just bizarre, sometimes they lead to even more layers of the story.
It's like you think you're getting a handle on things, and then Danielewski throws in another curveball. It's exhausting in the best possible way.
That's a great way to put it. It's like he's constantly pulling the rug out from under you. But it's that feeling, that disorientation that makes the book so effective. He's trying to make us feel what the characters are feeling, that sense of unease, that fear of the unknown.
Okay, so we've got this creepy house, this mysterious documentary, but then there's another layer to it, right? We've got Johnny Truant.
Ah, Johnny. He's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, because he's the one who supposedly finds Navidson's manuscript. So we're reading about him, reading about the house. It's like a story within a story within a story.
And Johnny's got his own baggage, his own demons that he's dealing with. And as he gets deeper into the manuscript, things start to unravel for him too. His reality starts to blur, just like what's happening in the house.
It's like the house is contagious. It's not just affecting the people who live there. It's affecting anyone who comes into contact with it, even through this manuscript.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole metafiction element comes in, right?
Exactly. It's like Danielewski is commenting on the act of storytelling itself. He's making us question what's real, what's imagined, and who's really in control of the narrative.
And the way he plays with the layout of the text, like turning the book sideways to read a certain passage or the words shrinking down to almost nothing, he's messing with us, making us physically interact with the book in this really uncomfortable way.
He wants you to work for it. He
Yeah.
wants you to experience that disorientation, that sense of claustrophobia, that fear.
It's brilliant, honestly. But it's not all just scares and mind games. There are moments of dark humor sprinkled throughout.
Definitely. That's one of the things I love about House of Leaves, that it doesn't take itself too seriously all the time. There's a playfulness to it, a sense of fun, even in the midst of all the darkness.
So as we start to wrap this up, what's the takeaway? What's Danielewski trying to tell us with all of this?
You know, I don't think there's one easy answer, but I think House of Leaves forces us to confront our own fears, our own insecurities. It makes us question our perception of reality.
And that maybe, sometimes, the most terrifying monsters are the ones we create in our own minds.
Exactly. The house, the Navidson record, Johnny Truant, they're all reflections of ourselves in a way. Our anxieties, our fears, our deepest, darkest thoughts.
So as you delve into the unsettling world of House of Leaves, remember sometimes the most frightening thing isn't the monster in the shadows, it's the shadow within ourselves. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious and maybe sleep with the lights on tonight.
Yeah, maybe.